Hi everyone, my name is Tammy Singer, and I'm one of the collection managers here at the Rosamond Gifford Zoo, and I'm here today with our Colobus monkeys, Keto and Rozzy, and I'll be answering some of your primate questions. So our first question is, which primate species here at the zoo is the most challenging to care for? And I would have to say our Potus monkeys. We have a large group of Potus monkeys, 1 adult male, 3 adult females, and 2 young females. And the 2 young females can make it a little bit challenging to care for them. When we ask them to shift off of their exhibit into a holding area, or off of Primate Park back into their indoor quarters, the little ones sometimes play games and don't always listen to what we want them to do. They're also generally a very nervous species, and so any little sound that they might hear that could be different and out of the ordinary could make them nervous, and they may not want to move because they hear that sound and they're just not familiar with it. So the next question is, what does a typical day look like for our primates here at the zoo? And do we provide them with any enrichment? So with any species in human care, we try to look at what their typical day would look like in their wild habitat. With primates, typically feeding times are early in the morning and late in the afternoon, and they would spend the mid portion of the day either sleeping or resting. So we try to replicate that as much as possible by feeding them when the keepers first get here in the morning and before they leave at the end of the day. Anytime we offer them any type of food at all, it's given in some form of enrichment. Now, primates spend a lot of time foraging, whether it's in the trees, looking for browse, leaves, shoots, fruits, or on the ground. So oftentimes we'll scatter their diet throughout their exhibit, so they have to actually go and forage and move and exercise and get up and look for those food items, just like they would in their wild habitat. We also provide enrichment items that may stimulate play. We'll put their food in paper bags, we'll put their food in cardboard boxes, things like that they can kick around and throw and play with. We also will offer them different scents and sometimes even different sounds to stimulate them, just like they would hear or maybe see in their wild habitat. The next question is, in our master plan, are we planning to allow space for each of our primate species to be outdoors? If you look behind me, you see Primate Park, where we have our 2 Colobus monkeys. Currently, we're able to rotate 3 of our primate species out in this space: our Potus monkeys, our Colobus, and our siamangs. And it can actually be really enriching to come out here on a rotating basis, because when the siamangs come out, if the Colobus were out here the day before, the siamangs get to experience the smells of the Colobus monkeys and get to explore and know that there was another species in that space. So it's actually very enriching as well to not have it on a regular basis. So they might not know when we come in the morning and start to interact with them if they're going out to Primate Park or not. And that can be really stimulating because they're kind of always on their toes, wondering what's going to be happening next. All of our indoor exhibits as well have opening windows on the backs of them, so they get to experience fresh air when the weather's nice, and they also get to experience different scents and sounds from outdoors. So the next question is, what is your favorite species of primate here at the zoo? And while I love all the primates that I work with, including our Colobus monkeys, I would have to say that my favorite are the siamangs, and specifically our adult male siamang, Abe. Abe came to the zoo in 1986 at the age of 7, and he's been here ever since. I started at the zoo in 1999, and I've worked with Abe since that time. So we've known each other for 21 years, and I actually was the one that started his training program when I first started here as keeper. He's a very playful animal. He has a really good personality. I've watched him over the years with several different mates. He's very considerate of them. He will oftentimes let them steal favorite food items from him without complaining or fighting back. And he's also a really good dad. He's had several babies born here, and he's always played with them and interacted with them very well. And he's just really fun to watch. So he's definitely my favorite. The next question is, what games do different primate species like to play? So a lot of times when you think of monkeys and different primates, people think of them as very active and very jumpy and climbing and swinging and constantly moving. And that's not always the case. They do need to rest during the day, just like they would in their wild habitat, between feedings. However, they do have a playful side, and you can find them playing quite often. One of the number one things they like to do is wrestle, especially the youngsters. Our Potus monkeys are very playful, especially the 2 younger ones, and they will wrestle with each other, but they'll also try to engage the adults in play as well. Another thing that they really like to do is chase each other. With our Colobus monkeys out here in Primate Park, that can be really exciting. They have these very long, flowing tails, and to watch them jump around the exhibit and leap from rock to rock can be really neat. Another thing they like to do is interact with their keepers. So we do regular training sessions with them, but a lot of times they'll come right up to us and interact with us through the glass. They'll make faces, they might pat at the glass, or they might just start rolling around and interacting in a way that we can interpret as them playing. The next question is, how do monkeys swing from their tails? One of the biggest questions that we get asked is how to tell the difference between apes and monkeys. And the easiest way to do that is to look for a tail. Apes do not have tails, and monkeys do. Now, monkeys are divided into different categories depending on where in the world they're from. You have your monkeys that are from Africa and Asia, and then you have monkeys from Central and South America. Now, of those monkeys from Central and South America, some of them have what's called a prehensile tail. And what that means is they have a long, muscular tail that they can use as an extra appendage. So it actually has a very finger-like tip, and they can grasp either food items or branches or virtually anything with it. So it not only helps with balance, but it also can be used to grasp things. And that's actually what they use to hang from their tails. The next question is, do primates enjoy music? Now that's a really interesting question. So humans enjoy music because we have the leisure time in order to do so. Primates don't usually have that leisure time in the wild. They're either searching for food, searching for a mate, foraging, keeping an eye out for potential predators. So they don't have that downtime to enjoy something like that. However, they are very attuned to other sounds. They have very good sense of hearing. So for example, if one of our primate species, say the Colobus monkeys, hear another one of our primate species, say the siamangs, start calling, oftentimes the Colobus monkeys will also start calling. They may not necessarily know what the siamangs calling means, but something is triggered in them, and it makes them want to call as well and join in. We also provide a lot of different enrichment for them that includes sounds. So we've played nature tapes for them before, so you can actually hear bird song or jungle sounds or things that they might actually hear in the wild. And we've also played back calls from other species and their own species. So we may play siamang calls to the siamangs, and that's something that they definitely react to. They get very excited, and they'll usually start calling as well. The next question is, which of our primates typically live in groups, and which one will usually find a mate and stay with that mate for life? And of our primate species here, our Colobus monkeys, our Potus monkeys, and our ruffed lemurs usually live in large groups. Our golden lion tamarins and our siamangs usually will find a mate and remain with that one mate throughout their lifetime. However, they can have up to 2 to 3 offspring with them at any given time of different ages. So it's still a group, but it's actually a closely related family group. Interestingly enough, with golden lion tamarins, usually they give birth to twins, and the adult male is always the one that carries the babies for the bulk of the early days of their life. And that's actually how the next generation learns their parenting skills. They watch their parents with the younger babies, and they'll eventually start caring for them as well under the guidance of their parents. So once they're old enough and they go off to find their own mate, they already know what they're supposed to be doing in order to raise their own young. So the next question is, do primates have long-term memory, and can they recognize individuals? So in a wild setting, they would need to remember things like where the best food sources are, what season those food sources are most plentiful, where to find water. They would also need to know where potential predators may be. They would need to recognize individuals from their own group as well as individuals from rival groups. So they absolutely do have good memories. And they are able to recognize individuals. Any of our animals will usually react quite differently to seeing our veterinary staff as opposed to one of their favorite keepers. They might be coming to provide them with food or enrichment or a training session, and that's a really positive experience. So when the animals see their keeper, they can get very excited and anticipate what's going to happen next. We've also had former keepers come back to visit our animals, and if they had a really good close relationship with some of our primates, the primates recognize them instantly and will usually come right up to the glass to greet them. So that's all the primate questions we have for today. Thank you very much for joining us here at the Rosamond Gifford Zoo, and tune in next week when we'll be answering questions about our hoof stock.